Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Thanks so much for coming. Not only is this not in the law school, it's also in a part of campus that many of us don't come to very often, so congratulations for getting here. My name is Noah Zatz. I'm one of the faculty co-directors of the Critical Race Studies program, along with Cheryl Harris. And I want to just briefly welcome you all. Thank you for coming. I'm going to also thank some of the others who were able to make this happen. It's always a long list, so we'll split it up over the course of the day a little bit. But we do want to acknowledge some of the folks who've contributed financially and in other ways, including the Office of Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion, the Division of Social Sciences, the Institute for American Cultures, the Luskin Institute on Inequality and Democracy, and the David J. Epstein Program in Public Interest Law and Policy. And also want to thank some of the people as individuals, especially Jasleen Coley in the back of the room, our director of the Critical Race Studies program, who has led a team of many laboring oars to make this happen in fantastic fashion. I'll just mention one among many for now, who is Jessica Blatchley, the program assistant in our CRS program. So we're going to try to keep it brief in terms of the intros before getting into our packed day of panels. The thinking about this symposium, which is our 9th annual one, so we do something every year, the thinking of this really began in the summer and the fall when the election had not happened, but the campaign was well underway, and we knew that crazy stuff was going on. And so we were trying to think about what was the right way for us to think about it, regardless of the outcome. Obviously, little did we know just exactly the way things were going to go. And you know, the basic thought behind the conference is that I think many of us have been sort of struggling with kind of two competing impulses. One was the like, whoa, what is going on here? There's something surprising and different. And the other was, yeah, same old, right? And so essentially the thought behind the symposium was to try to figure out what the articulation was between those things, whether it was one more than the other, or whether there's some way of synthesizing those thoughts. The program itself has a somewhat more thoroughly articulated version of those two competing impulses, and you're welcome to read it. We tried to provide some prompts for our thinking in the program itself, but I won't repeat that for you now, except to also hand it off to Cheryl Harris.
Thank you, Noah. I know you'll hear a lot of it today, but I did just want to say thank you to all of the institutional support that we've had in pulling this together. We do, as Noah mentioned, have often or annually have a symposium, and oftentimes it's more directly focused inside the law school. Not to say that we are not interdisciplinary in our concerns and interdisciplinary in our engagements, but we often have more often foreground specifically legal issues. But as Noah mentioned, it seemed to us in the summer that we were in a particular moment, and little did we know how right that impulse was. And so we thought about this one more, I guess I would say, capaciously than we do typically, in the sense of making a concerted effort to bring other disciplines and other perspectives into the conversation with law. And so we've been committed to the idea that there is serious intellectual work needing to be done, coming from all directions, and it's essential to understanding how we can make effective interventions. And so it's a particular moment of urgency. I think all of us have felt that in many ways. And it's also an incomplete engagement without thinking about the question of praxis, not just as an application, but as a place where knowledge is produced. I know that all of us come to this with very different skill sets, some of us many skill sets, and we want to bring all of that into conversation because we're thinking about this as not just this particular moment, but how we can try to sustain this conversation throughout, not just today, but beyond. So we want to focus on the ways that things are moving fast and are still quite raw, but we've privileged in the course of our day shorter, more exploratory presentations rather than the more typical kind of focused academic paper. And we're trying to emphasize a lot of back and forth among the panelists and ourselves in order that we can get this conversation going. And we'd like to Also point out that we've really privileged the local in this context, meaning we've drawn on the immense talent that we have here locally and here at the university, in part because we want to deepen this collaboration as part of an objective of figuring out how to build and sustain resistance. And so we figure that the first thing to do is to throw your bucket down where you are. So with that in mind, I just want to say once again, thank you to all of you, and I'm looking forward to a really exciting and robust conversation throughout the course of the day. I'm going to turn it over now to our first panel, and we'll go from there.